What's up, everybody? Man, this is the week. This is week one of playoffs. And if you guys are like me or Matt, aka Fantasy Salesman, aka Sack Experts, we've been waiting months for this. And we've been, trying to prep you guys, dropping cool nuggets about week one, week two, week three. Did you guys pick up, the James Robinsons of the world? Did you guys, make sure you have the handcuffs for pending players going down? Do you have the right quarterback ready to start in week one of playoff? Streaming the right defense? Do you have KC defense? Do you have New Orleans defense? We talked about before. Are you guys ready to rock? Because we have been dropping information all year long. We've been having a lot of fun to do it. A lot of life milestones have happened throughout the year, and here we are, week 14 together, going through it. We know you guys have questions. We know we might have some good answers for you. So if you want to drop a DM to Fantasy Salesman, Fantasy Analyzers, Sack Experts, if you want to add us, by all means do it because we want to help you guys win. And, without further ado, we're going to hop right on into some cool conversations. I know it's kind of like a tense week because Miles Gaskin, who's one of the guys that we're expecting to have a big week 14, is now out with COVID. But that's just, in essence, what 2020 has been. It's been a roller coaster, right, fellas? A roller coaster. Rolling with the homies. So you got to keep rolling. And what I mean by that is, be fluid. Matt was just telling me, what were you saying, Matt? You had two players out, and I'm a similar situation. So, can you want to
Yeah,
explain that?
yeah. So one of my dynasty leagues, and this is a league with a bunch of guys from Twitter who are also considered armchair experts. Fantasy Aim, we got Roto Wiz on here, DFA Roto, Fantasy Force Football, Gymnastic. So it's a bunch of guys, kind of has been pretty competitive this season. Going into this week, I was hoping that CMC would be back finally, so he can produce for me. And I thought, dang, this is awesome because it's the first week of playoffs. CMC, if I was gonna wait all season for someone, it was gonna be him to support me in the playoffs. Unfortunately, he's not back. At the same time, my RB2 going into this week was Miles Gaskin, and you mentioned him out with COVID, so that really throws a monkey wrench into my first week of playoffs. So I really was able to kind of prepare myself in this league. Some dynasty leagues, you're just strapped for one position at all times, and I I'm a fan of not being strapped to the RB position. If you are gonna stock up on any position, it needs to be the RB because they go down most often. They actually come off the waivers at times and produce off waivers as well. So keep your eyes out for them in general. And I was able to have McKissick as well as Mike Davis, CMC's handcuff in for this
Ooh,
week.
okay, okay,
So
okay.
it's
So you're
working
ready to
out.
rock.
You know what I mean? Yeah, it's worked out. And I would rather CMC at this point. I'd rather Miles Gaskin, but we're good to go. And that's just simply preparing and being alert and, you know, drafting appropriately to make sure that any of these guys go down. You're ready to go.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
man. And it's kind of one of those things where, man, it's just all in your preparation. Just like guys, I know you guys are worried about week 14, first week of playoffs, but now I'm going to advise you go ahead and keep looking up for the defense for week 15. Look up, so if I'm you guys, I'm seeing that the Los Angeles Rams are playing the New York Jets in week 15, and I'm just chomping at the mouth like, wow, can I get that defense smash? Go ahead, please. Please,
yeah.
is it available? Give it to me. Give it to me now. They just
No, for
scored
sure.
quite a bit of points last week, and now they're on a hot streak. So I'm looking for the next best thing. And hopefully Christian McCaffrey is ready for next week. I had him in quite a few leagues. Luckily, I have him in some buys, but I need him. I want him. Please, Christian McCaffrey, come back. I'm
I
hoping.
know, right?
Please, please, please be ready.
Dude, my leagues have been wrecked. I think I have CMC in two other leagues, and then I have Barkley in one league, and that was a local league, and I got him in the 5th pick, and I'm still reeling from him being out. And yeah, it's old news, but when you lose your first round pick, you kind of screwed. So I didn't even make playoffs in that one.
Oh
Injuries,
man.
injuries, injuries,
But
and
hey, guys, there's always next season, fellas. We live under the in the real world, and we know that there's going to be things that happen, and maybe you weren't able to get the waiver wire the way you wanted to this year. But have no fear, guys. We're going to keep this show rocking. Keep following us. We're going to keep bringing you A1 content. We want you guys to keep having fun with us. And if there's something we can do to help you with your draft prep, if there's something we can do to answer some questions over the off season, we're here for you too, man. Shoot us a
yeah, for
question,
sure.
shoot us, any type of feedback on our show. If there's things that you want us to talk about more, start sits, strategy, just building a team. We're here for it, man. Right,
For
Matt?
sure. And going off of that, we posted up last night. Send us your questions for this morning, so David and I can kind of get right into it. Drew D Battery FF, he sent us a Kyler or Tannehill, and this is a 6-point pass TD league. So Kyler or
Mhm.
Tannehill, what are you thinking, David?
Man, normally, like I would say, go Kyler 100% of the way. But I think it's a little bit closer than we think. But I do feel like that, Kyler's had a few weeks where he hasn't been running the ball at all a lot. And I think this week he actually utilizes his legs and his arm. I know he's going against a good defense as the New York Giants, but I expect him to have to throw the ball quite a bit. And I think that we see 2 to 3 touchdowns. And I think we see a strong game from Kyler. How
Yeah,
about you?
it'd be hard to pull Kyler out, I think, at this point. Tannehill has a good defense he's going up against, so that'll help. Especially, so earlier I was looking at one of my leagues and I had a Baker Mayfield or Tannehill. So I switch out and go Tannehill because of that defense. And he's a solid quarterback, and he's been a solid quarterback for a few years now. And I think sometimes we
Hmm.
forget about him. So this question is more realistic than at first glance, because of how strong he's been. But taking Kyler out at this point in the season and what he's able to do, like you said, with his legs as well as in the air, I couldn't do it. I couldn't really bring myself to put Tannehill in. I don't think that'd be a smart decision at this point.
Yeah, man, I really think that it's also comes down to I think Derrick Henry has a bigger game. I think they go run, run, run the ball. So I think it's Kyler Murray who you're going to go with, guys.
For sure. So we have a next question. This is from Jim, handle Jim Warson 14. This is a defense question. 49ers defense or Washington defense?
I'm gonna go with, I think that front seven of Washington has been pretty tough. And they just got to win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, so they're riding pretty hot. I'm gonna go with that Washington front seven. I think it's going to be a low scoring game, and I think they get some sacks.
Yeah, and this is definitely an interesting one since they're going up against each other. It's almost like what team you think is going to win this game. They're
Pretty
both five
much,
and
yeah,
seven.
yeah.
Yeah, they're both 5 and 7. They're both kind of on the fringe, if you could even say that. It's weird seeing the 49ers dip this low after the season they had last season. COVID
Hmm.
has really done something to them. Sorry, bro.
Really
Um,
though.
but I think Washington will be able to control this game as well. Um, yeah, we'll see. McKissick running the ball. Hopefully, he'll just, for
Catches. I
my
think he
own
gets a lot of
good.
catches out of the backfield too.
Yeah,
McKissick
yeah, he
is
does.
probably good for 7 to 8 catches, right?
Yeah, so yeah, I'd go Washington as well. It's kind of boring sometimes. I always agree with you, but I can't really disagree if the facts are there, right? So
We
we actually got another question from Jim.
sure.
Um, AJ Brown, Cole Beasley, or Cutie Kiki, full PPR.
So Cootie,
AJ Brown and
Kuti,
Beasley.
AJ Brown, and Beasley. I'm going AJ Brown. I'm doing that with confidence because I feel like AJ Brown is a player that is going to get touchdown opportunity. I like Beasley in PPR a lot. He had a big
Mm.
game, and I usually try to not to fire up, a guy like Beasley who's like a more of a second option back to back weeks after a big game. Um, so I'm going to go AJ Brown, who had a ho hum game, and I think that AJ Brown gets a TD.
Okay. Yeah,
And
that's
and
more than
you?
realistic at this point. Yeah. I think the better question is if you were to go with Beasley or Kuti, who would you go with if AJ Brown's out of the question?
Oh, I would go Beasley 100%.
He's so
But
strong right now.
Cootie he just showed that what his peak is. He had a 61-yard catch, so he had 140 something yards, but he had a 61-yard catch. That's not going to happen every game, but Beasley's
No.
been so consistent. So I would go Beasley over Cootie if those were the two options for sure.
Yeah, and Cootie's going up against the Bears this week. So it's not the best defense to play him at. We've seen like no consistency out of Cootie, and that is hard to kind of say, yeah, roll with him because he had like you're saying, that one catch last week. Um, I think you're absolutely correct with the ranking that you have. AJ Brown and Beasley is probably pretty close, but AJ Brown and kind of the way he's built and the way that this offense is run, he's going to be the strongest option this week. With Beasley, and also he's a solid option as well. So that's basically where we both stand. I think it's simple question, but when you get into playoffs and you're kind of looking for those upsides, which is Guti last week, he had that huge upside, and you're kind of hoping for a miracle again from him. And I wouldn't do that at this point. You got to stay with kind of your beasts, and AJ Brown is a beast.
Yeah, bro. I mean, I think you're right when it comes to that. If you're got this far with AJ Brown, keep it rocking, baby. Keep it rocking.
Yeah.
100% agree with you, Matt. I have a question here from John Fabery, Fabez101 on Twitter, and he says, pick one RB
Yeah.
and two flex spots.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. I'd go CH, Mike Davis, and the four Juju, Marvin, Higgins, Samuel. That one's rough. I think I would have to go Higgins, man,
Okay.
between those four and the flex or
I
wide
I
receiver or
think
whatever that
I
is.
think Higgins has the most upside. I will say that I may go Juju because of the TD potential, and that he's got a lot of TDs this year with Big Ben, and I think that on Monday night, um, you know,
Yeah.
they'll have a he'll have opportunity to get in the red zone and possibly, if not, have opportunities to get a touchdown. So I'm gonna definitely go with you for CEH, Mike Davis, and I'll go Juju. If you're listening, Fabez 101, shout out to you. Answered live.
Yeah. Juju also has a defense that's a little bit on his side with the Bills this week. So I think the way that he's playing, he needs the touchdown to give you any
He
sort of
does.
value.
He does need a
So that's
touchdown.
kind
So
of what you're flipping the coin for.
T. Higgins does not need the touchdown for value.
Yeah, that's why I'd rather go that way, but it's definitely preference.
And then I have another question.
One RB and flex. Ridley,
Joseph
Johnson,
Hoover. Help. I need one
Allen
wide receiver and
Robinson.
one flex in a full PPR league. I have
Hmm.
Calvin Ridley, Deontay Johnson. I have Allen Robinson and T.Y. Hilton. So, guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this is the one week where you're going to be confident in going 100% Calvin Ridley. There's no Julio Jones. Calvin Ridley's going to filter all the targets, and I think he has a touchdown and 100 yards. So,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Hoover, we're answering you live on the show. I'm messaging him right now that we're going Calvin Ridley with confidence.
Oh, for sure. I have a question that just came in on live stream
Yes.
from YouTube. Justin, he's asking Chark, Claypool, or AB.
Ooh, good question.
Yeah, that's a dirty one. I don't even know if I want to.
Chark, Claypool. I think Claypool has the most upside. I think that Chark had a really down week. He hasn't been that effective with Mike Glennon. And
Yeah.
I'm very tentative to go that route. I think that the person he said T.Y. Hilton was the last one, right?
AB.
AB. So AB, Chark, or Claypool. I'm gonna go Claypool. Just because I think Claypool has that splash play thing, and if you're in playoffs, Claypool's developed that rapport with Ben over the season, and he's going to look for him for a big splash play, and I think he gets that this week. AB, I do like AB in general. I think that Chris Godwin gets a lot of the connection this week, and I think that when it comes to Chark, he's probably the least trustworthy right now with Glennon.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna go Claypool. What about you, Matt?
I wanted to share a fun fact about Claypool, which out of these three, I have to go with as well. He hasn't had more than 70 yards receiving in a game since week 6.
Oh wow.
That's what scares me. And it's kind of like the same ordeal with Juju, where we're relying on like you're saying, a big splash play, a touchdown, or something
Mm-hmm.
like that to really bring him value this week. And I don't personally like relying on guys like that. But between these three guys, you kind of have to. Chark isn't reliable. AB had one decent game, and then he's kind of just been there. So Claypool is the guy between these three. I honestly wish you had better options, sir.
Buddy, is there anything else you got? Anything else
Uh,
behind the counter over there? Because Matt is
yeah,
asking for better options.
can you
Go check
check
that
the
waiver
waiver
wire.
line? For
Go
sure.
check that waiver wire.
All right,
That's one of
he
those.
gave another one on the defense, Cowboys or Titans this week.
I'm going Titans. That's one of the defenses that I know they gave up a lot of points last week. And I know the Cowboys are going against the Bengals, Andy Dalton revenge game, but I don't trust the Cowboys defense at all. I think the Titans versus Jacksonville, they know each other fairly well, and I think Derrick Henry runs the ball up and down their throat. They control the clock, and I think they get that convincing win.
Yeah, and realistically, this is a streaming option versus a streaming option. The Titans are going up against the Jaguars, who have a total of 1 win, and the Bengals, who the Cowboys are going up against, having 2, and it's high. The Titans are going to be able to run the ball, control it a little bit better, the game. So I think their defense is going to be able to play because the pressure's off of them better than the Cowboys will this week. So on top of that, it's a worse team. So
I got one right here.
Let's go.
Josh Jacobs or J.K. Dobbin, and this is from Luke Honcho on Twitter.
J.K. Dobbins.
Or Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. My first inclination is Dobbins. He's been solid the last couple weeks. I think that he's really showing this coaching staff that he's the guy. So it's Dobbins over Jacobs, which is really rattles my cage because Jacobs was, in my mind, a potential top 3 option coming into the season. I felt like he was going to take a jump forward. This team is looking strong, but apparently they're relying more on their passing game than their running game, which eats into or Jacobs investments? What are you thinking, David?
You know what, man? I got to disagree with you just because, yeah, Josh Jacobs never really misses games. He did miss one last week with the ankle injury, but I think that his mind is right. He saw that, hey, look, I got to be out there with my team. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to score a touchdown. So I
Yeah.
got him scoring a touchdown this week. And, even it's not the most ideal matchup. I think that the Raiders get back on track.
Yeah, and I couldn't fight you against it. I think it's really a toss-up. But Jacobs has his pros and Dobbins has his. Justin came back with a question to kind of follow up. He said that was a flex question for his chart Clay Play B. He said he also has Hunt, DeAndre Washington, and Crowder.
Shout out
I
to
love the
Justin.
follow-up. Yeah, for sure. What are your thoughts?
So Hunt's been kind of hum ho, very
Yeah.
under 10 points the last couple games. I think DeAndre Washington gets a lot of volume this week and
Yep.
is going against his old team, so he's motivated. And then Jameson Crowder had a bounce back game recently. So I'm going to actually, depending on how many points you need, I'm going to say that let's go with the volume on this one and go DeAndre Washington.
Washington. Yeah.
Because I like
Even
when
over
guys.
Claypool.
Um,
These are the extra options. So we put Claypool in. That's where it gets like
yeah, I would go
Washington.
DeAndre Washington this week, but it's tough. I do like Claypool, but I think DeAndre Washington this week only is a solid flex because he's just going to be force fed, and I think
Yeah.
that they're going to have to score some points, and I think they're going to try to establish DeAndre Washington to give Tua a little bit of relief.
Yeah. So Justin, if we're going Washington
Man,
over
appreciate you,
Claypool in
Justin.
that
Man, it's
flex.
it's. I hope you've been riding along the show for a few weeks now, man. But appreciate the question, man. Very good question too. You know,
Yeah, thank you. We also have Fabez 101. I don't know if you remember him. We addressed his question a little earlier.
yeah, yeah,
He put in, "Do you trust Mike Davis more than
yes, yes,
Curtis Samuel?"
yes. I trust Mike Davis with.
That was quick.
I trust Mike Davis making my lunchtime sandwich, tuna. And I don't trust a lot of people with my tuna, man. So it has to be made a certain way. Has to be made a
A
real
certain way.
certain way. So I'm definitely trusting Mike Davis this week. I know he's going against a tough defense, but they're without, Moore. They're without a lot of people this week, and I think that Mike Davis gets a lot of those checkdowns. Robbie Anderson's going to be busy getting double covered, so they're going to have to rely on Mike Davis. And it's his last week
Yeah,
to show up before Christian McCaffrey's here. So
no,
you
for
better do
sure.
what you got to do.
Would you say if this is PPR scoring, that Samuel would be a little bit closer to Mike Davis? Or you're just saying
I
Mike
think
Davis no matter what
I'm
because
saying
of those
Mike
checkdowns?
Davis no matter what, but I think that Curtis Samuel, if you need like a shot in the dark, some upside, I think Curtis Samuel is that play, like where it's like, damn, I might be projected to lose by 35. Okay, maybe I should go Curtis Samuel. But Mike Davis is the guy with the floor that I think that he can. He's in PPR. I think he can score between 15 and 20 points.
Yeah, I think Curtis Samuel would be a strong flex play this week, honestly. But I still wouldn't start him over Mike Davis. I appreciate you following up, Fabez. Your question.
What up, Fabez?
No,
Appreciate the love, bro. Whoever here
for sure.
just getting hyped off of fantasy week 1 in the playoffs. I got 8 teams on bye this week, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 teams playing week 1. So
How many leagues are you in again? That's 12 you listed. So you lost how many?
yeah, yeah. So I lost two leagues. No, I'm sorry. I have 6 going this week. 2 I lost out of playoffs. So, and it sucked too, man. It sucked because they both went down to the last week and they're by points. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I had a kind of week ending to the last 2 weeks for both of those teams, and by points I just got was seventh place. So I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
And one of the teams I lost by like a touchdown at the end of week 13, so it sucked.
Dude, I'm not in
But it's all
one
good.
league that's based off of points.
Really?
And I think it's more true to fantasy because I think the teams that
Score the most
score
points.
the most points are the strongest teams.
They are.
The
Yeah, you
head-to-head,
guys got to
they
get
make it
progressive,
kind of.
baby.
I know, that's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know if I want to start a league. I'm a part of already too many leagues.
Hmm.
For me personally, so I don't know if I want to start one with the scoring or try to convert one of these leagues to pure points rather than head-to-head. I think the head-to-head
Well,
just came around because it's cool to like talk trash to each other. Maybe is there like a hybrid of head-to-head and points
y-
overall?
yeah.
Are you
So
in?
actually, in Yahoo leagues now, you can it's head to head, but you can adjust the playoff seeding to where manually you can adjust who's in playoffs. So if you like, okay, there's one league I'm in where it's top four, and then the last two are based on points. So
Yeah.
the commissioner will adjust the last two playoff spots.
Oh, okay.
And
See,
I'm
that's
on a
kind of cool.
1%. I need to figure out the charger thing here, guys, before my phone freaking or my laptop. So give me a second here. Yeah.
Yeah. How much percentage you got? Are you getting a charger real quick?
1%. Yeah.
Oh man, David's about to leave us.
I know, guys. Woo.
Yeah, I'm actually curious what next season's gonna look like. Um, as far as COVID and kind of what's going on, I personally hope I'll be able to go to a football team next year or a football game, I guess. The Raiders just moved to Vegas, and none of us were able to go to a game, which is kind of like driving by the stadium and sadness. Also, what it's so crazy now right now just because of like rankings and things like that. I think some guys like CMC may drop out of that number one spot for guys like maybe Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara. But who knows? If CMC comes back all the way, I think he should still get that number one pick. I
No,
mean,
I
David's
agree with you,
back.
bro. Like, I agree with you with the whole, rankings thing. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens because health has to be a determining factor in who you draft.
Of
It
course.
really does.
And we
Oh,
actually got one more question from Fabez.
nice. What's up, Fabez?
So we got one more question for the flex. Half PPR, Juju, Devontae Parker, Higgins, or Marvin Jones.
Oh man, I think that the player that is the most like polarizing in this one for me is Devontae Parker because he's going against KC, and I think that KC they're going to score a lot of points, so Tua's going to have to throw. But the question
Yeah.
is he going to throw to Devontae Parker? That's the question. Juju is TD dependent. I think T Higgins has a nice floor, but I think that that floor is going to be, 5 catches for 60 yards. And then Marvin
Yeah.
Jones, Marvin Jones could have an awful game or he could have 100 yards and a TD. So, for me, I think that I'd go with personally. I think Devontae Parker gets it going against KC because he's going to have to score some points. That offense is too dynamic, and they're going to be down early. What are your thoughts?
I like Devontae Parker, especially this week. It's going to be a high scoring game, like you're saying. So they're going to have to move the ball. They're going to have to be productive in order to stay in this game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not entirely sure that they'll be able to, or whether they're
I
just going
doubt,
to
yeah.
just throw the ball in the air and hope for the best. like, I would have to still go with T Higgins, I think, and it's
Ooh.
really tight for me between Parker and him. But Higgins has been consistent enough for me to trust. Devontae Parker has some big games. So I definitely understand going with him. But I'm really caught in the middle with leaning with Higgins on this one,
Yeah,
just
bro.
because of
I
the
mean,
defense.
it's one of those things where T. Higgins is just shown that he's just been exploding onto the scene, and he looks like he's going to be that top guy over there, probably in over the next couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, who's throwing him the ball? And that's kind of what I like to trust. Tua is still trying to adjust to the game, and
Yeah.
we'll see him produce maybe even um, come close to Burrow in the future. We'll see. It'll be a kind of a cool competition between the two of them. But
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, this week, like I said, I'd go Higgins. And Fabez actually sent us another question, or not even a question. He gave us a statement. Appreciate the help. So we appreciate
Bro,
you, Fabez.
yeah, man. We're out here trying to figure things out in terms of getting us going for our teams. I have 16 teams I'm working on, minus two now, so 14. But these leagues are, $150 each, and so it's like, man, there's a lot of ramifications. And I know me and Matt in our league, I have a buy in that sleeper league. I'm excited about that one because there's a lot of Twitter experts. So yeah, man, we
Yeah.
appreciate it. We're also ingesting a lot of this information as we go and just kicking it to you live. But yeah, man, hopefully what we're dropping is something that's going to help you win a championship because that's what it's all about, baby, winning championships. So shout out Fabez, bro.
Yeah.
Um, you're
If you ain't
you're
first, you're
uh
last.
you're a real one in my book,
No, for
real one.
sure. Catch us every week, bruh. And like I was talking about earlier, it's kind of right now. There's a lot of guys out of playoffs. What would you say is kind of some of the things that you do in the late season to help prepare you for next season? Are you
Yeah, man.
scouting? Are you
I'm in
predicting?
specifically. I'm going to speak to dynasty leagues because it's year round. I'm looking at players that I feel like have increased their value significantly over the last couple weeks. For instance, Chad Hansen, wide receiver over at the Houston Texans. He had a five catch, 100-yard game, and this is after Will Fuller is out. So I think that Chad Hansen has distinguished himself as a player who can play in the league. And now that I have him on my dynasty team, I'm going to be able to either use him as a trade bait or B, I'll have him for next season to where he can produce for me. So I'm looking for players that come on late in the season, rookies, um, people who didn't have that much of an opportunity, and I'm looking to buy low for next season, and I'm looking to get that head start on how I can win a championship for next year. What about you, Matt?
For sure. Right now, I like just gathering all the stats. How do these
Mhm.
guys do? How are some of these changes at quarterback affect them? We have so many changes at quarterback. I don't even know at this point. Probably like 12 teams that have a new quarterback compared to where they started. Some of these are rookies
Mhm.
like Herbert, Tua, Burrow, and who are some of their receiving cores that they are relying on. I think some of these will be sneaky because these teams are still developing, but these are the times that you get to study and kind of pay attention to what's going on and prepare for the middle rounds of your draft next year. When some of these wide receivers will be available and who do you think can be your ace in the hole, to win some of your leagues. Also, workload of running backs, contracts. I like to look into at this point. Does it look like some of
Mm.
these guys will be moving? And if they are, how does that affect their value? And that'll be over the off season. You'll kind of see some movement like DeAndre Hopkins all of a sudden being traded to the Cardinals, which is like one of the craziest trades I've ever seen. And I personally had him lower than most after that trade because when Odell went to Cleveland, we were thinking Odell, he's top 5 wide receiver. He went to Cleveland and he's been productive here and there, but who talks about Odell anymore? Like, it's kind of rough. You know what I mean? So I was really nervous about Hopkins going over to Arizona, but Kyler really stepped it up, and Hopkins is probably a big part of that. And he's being as productive, maybe not as productive with Watson, but I think him and Kyler will start to grow a little bit more. Some of these injuries has really affected, I think, what happens in the kind of the fantasy community is people forget about players once they're gone for a season. Like, who are they? What will they do? One of those is like Saquon Barkley. One of the leagues, and I mentioned this a little earlier, I got him in my 5th pick this season. And what's going to happen? Is he going to end up being more of a 2nd round guy because of the injury this year? Who knows? And who's going to be actually like shooting their shot with him, because he should still be considered a 1st round if he's healthy and ready to go. I don't think he's in danger of losing that spot up in New York. So those are some of the things. It's kind of like a conglomerate of a bunch of different things that I pay attention to this point. I think teams love to stick with guys that do well during the end of the season and into playoffs. So even when we're done playing fantasy and it's NFL playoffs, that's when you should be paying attention to some of these guys that start getting workloads that aren't normal from coaching staffs. Because what happens is the next season they're like, okay, this guy was there in the clinch, like he stepped up when he had to, and they give him a shot in the next season as well. So those are some of the things that I really like to pay attention to, because you'll find diamonds in the rough like that in your drafts.
No, I agree. I think you have to be prepping by doing your research now. This is how you win leagues. That's how we do it. We don't stop. We determine, hey, we filter some of the players, get rid of some of our unconscious bias. We'll go take a look at the statistics, and we're seeing that somebody like a Wayne Gallman has been like a top RB over the last couple of weeks. We're looking at, the fact that James Robinson has been one of the top running backs. Even though his name's not big, he's going to be one of the maybe a 2nd or 3rd round pick if the situation stays the same. So those are the type of things where we're looking for any edge we can get, and it starts now. But first, you got to win week 14. First, you got to win that
Yeah,
first week of playoffs.
absolutely.
Focus on what's going on. Make sure that you guys are streaming the right defense. We like New Orleans. We like the Green Bay Packers. We like Carolina defense this week. We like if you're in a situation where you can get the Chicago Bears defense. Pittsburgh defense always. So
Yeah, for sure. And to kind of close us out, I want to talk about kind of some of our plans for next season.
yeah,
This will continue RPO. I'm sure we'll be here every week doing live and hopefully a podcast during the week as well. We're in talks to try to get some more writers, so we'll have some more articles out there. We're aiming to have, hopefully, which would be awesome, some podcasts in Spanish. Our boy Daniel down in Mexico. Hope someone to do some NFL kind of podcasting and fantasy analysis and whatnot in Spanish. There's a few things we're looking into, and I'm excited for next season. We still have playoffs ahead, and we're still preparing for these and making sure that we're here weekly to help you guys out with starts and sits and kind of injury news and whatnot. But I personally love doing this with David every week. It's definitely kind of a cool piece of my week. I appreciate you always being there, even
yeah,
when I
man.
was out for a few weeks and whatnot.
No worries, man. We didn't skip a beat. We enjoy having each other's company every Sunday. We enjoy having the guys ask questions. We enjoy the questions coming on Twitter. I have 20 plus notifications going on right now and those are just from people that I've answered their questions, and they're usually saying thanks or following me, or saying a follow-up question or follow-up comment, and I try to get to those as soon as possible. I know it's an important week for you guys. I know
Yep.
Matt, every time he gets a question, as soon as possible he tries to answer it, or he saves it for us for our podcast, and he answers it live. So we truly want to help you guys. We're coming from situations where We like to spread the knowledge. We like to give opportunity. And, at the end of the day, we're people. So we appreciate how respectful and knowing that you guys trust us with your decisions is a cool thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Send us those questions. We love to discuss them live. We love to tweet you back. So keep sending those questions. Good luck in playoffs. Week 14 is the beginning of the storm. So hopefully we can make it through and get that dub this week and the championship as well. That would be awesome. So let us know how you guys do. Check in with us, and we'll be here for you. David and
Yes,
Matt,
sir.
we appreciate your time, guys. You have a good week.
All right.